Welcome back, everyone. For you do now, you are evaluating McDonald's, how good you think it is, and giving it a score and explaining why. We're going to start today talking about McDonald's and doing a little game about McDonald's to try and um, use as an example for our new unit. So we'll start with some facts about McDonald's. It first opened in 1948 and has slowly spread around the world for lots of reasons, as being a good business, well managed, being sort of one of the first sort of fast food related options. It's been very successful. It's become this sort of symbol of America around the world, and also what we call globalization. This is going to be our keyword for our next unit: globalization. Some other facts: there are more McDonald's in the world than hospitals. Most Americans have never been more than 100 miles from a McDonald's. You're currently less than 2 miles from a McDonald's right now. Most of your life, you're probably going to be spending within, you know, 10 miles of McDonald's all the time. 69 million customers every day, $75 million a day in profit. Every 15 hours, a new McDonald's opens up somewhere in the world. It's also the world's biggest toy company through their Happy Meals. And so McDonald's is this absolutely huge industry. Here's an example of it in the country of Finland. This is not a drive-through. This is a ski-through. As you ski through the mountain, you can get your McDonald's. This is one in New Zealand. It's a plane instead of a restaurant. Here it is in the country of Georgia. It's an old museum. Entrance has been turned into a McDonald's. Here's one in Portugal, an old bank turned into a McDonald's. And then here's one in China. So McDonald's has spread around the world. It's adapted to fit into cultures around the world. And that's kind of, like I said, one of our big ideas for this unit is that McDonald's has had to adapt to fit in. They have different menus in different places depending on the culture. What we're going to do is I'm going to give you a menu item. You need to guess what country it's from. And we'll do this all class where we try to predict what country it's from. So the first one is bacon, macaroni, and cheese toasty. You're going to guess what country is this from, and then we're going to go through and do several. All right. So our new region is going to be called East Asia. Let's include these countries here, which is not many countries. It's mostly China, Mongolia, North and South Korea, Japan. Here is zoomed in so you can see some of the names of those countries. This is a famous region, very famous countries, economically very important, military, politically, socially. These are all very important countries and things influential and names you hear. Japan, North, South Korea, China. And these are countries that you probably know about. So it's the eastern half of Asia is what we're going to be talking about. This is an area that is developing and modernizing. Some areas are extremely modern, like Japan and South Korea. Some areas like China are still developing, same with Taiwan. Just like our last unit, this is an area of the world with very high population. It went through that population boom. It's a little further along than Southeast Asia. They're trying to get their population back under control, but it had an absolute explosion in population over the past 30, 40 years. This tends to be a pretty wealthy area. Japan and South Korea and Taiwan are very wealthy countries. China is extremely wealthy, but the average Chinese person, not so much. But there's a lot of potential for wealth in China. All these places have good resources, good economic systems to help them be successful globally. There's lots of trade, lots of business being done, lots of companies, lots of products. This is a very economically successful place. Our big idea for this last unit is going to be about economics. How does it impact society? Economics is like business and money and trade and resources. Here's some pictures of East Asia. This is Tokyo, the biggest city in the world. That's Mount Fuji behind it. This is also in Japan, famous for its cherry blossom trees. Here we have China, Tiananmen Square, Great Wall of China. China, very ancient civilization. Some of the first places humans began to civilize was in China. Very old culture. This is in Shanghai. Oops, some of my slides are out of order. That was Beijing. This is Hong Kong. And this is Mongolia. On the western side of our region, there's not a lot of people. Right? The east side looks like this. The west side looks like this. So it's sort of definitely a split in two different sort of areas where one is very nomadic, very rural, underdeveloped, and then the other side is extremely developed. We're going to be talking a lot about this idea of globalization, that the whole world, the globe, is connected. Right? There's no countries that are just by themselves. Everything we do impacts each other, and especially our economics. We're all tied together. We're going to look at social, political, and economic globalization. We're going to focus mostly on the economics, but our politics, our governments, and militaries are connected through allies and enemies. Socially, we're connected. We can talk and interact with people around the world. And economically, we do business with almost every country in the world. We are becoming more and more globalized as time goes on due to technology, making it easier and easier to interact with other people. This wasn't always the case. We go back 100 years ago, people rarely met people from even outside their town or city, let alone someone from another place in the world. The technology is letting us do that. So, have you explained globalization in your own words? What are some examples of social and economic globalization? On the Pear Deck. When we're done, we're going to take a look at our competencies, do any makeup work, corrections, finishing it, and then any makeup work we have for other classes.